Have you ever wondered what mistakes you could be making right now that will haunt you in your later years? As we grow older, life presents both challenges and opportunities, but it also brings regrets. The choices we make today can have a huge impact on our future happiness and well-being. And it turns out, the things people regret most later in life often aren't about wealth or status, but about how they lived, the relationships they nurtured, and the decisions they avoided. In this video, we're diving deep into the most common mistakes people make as they age. Mistakes that could rob you of joy, freedom, and fulfillment in your golden years. You'll learn why neglecting your health, letting go of friendships, and holding on to grudges are far more damaging than you might think. You'll also discover why embracing change, planning for the future, and prioritizing your mental health are key to aging gracefully. By the end of this video, you'll have actionable insights to help you avoid these common pitfalls. So stick around. Whether you're approaching retirement, already retired, or somewhere in between, this is the roadmap to living your later years with purpose, peace, and a sense of fulfillment. You deserve a life free from regrets, and it all starts with the choices you make today. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. Number 1. Neglecting your health. Let's begin with something deceptively simple, yet painfully overlooked: taking care of your health. It's easy to dismiss, to assume that the effects of neglecting your well-being won't catch up with you. But the truth is, if you continue to ignore your health, you will inevitably face the consequences, and they can be much harsher than you imagine. From the countless heartfelt stories shared by people who have walked down that painful path, it's abundantly clear that this is the number one regret many carry with them. The time to act is now, not when the damage is irreversible. One story that resonates deeply with me is from a man in his 70s, who, after decades of neglecting his health, finally faced the harsh reality of what that neglect had cost him. He spoke of his past, a life where he chose convenience and comfort over movement and well-being, a life where physical activity took a back seat, and proper self-care was an afterthought. His words were heavy with regret, not just for the chronic pain and debilitating health issues that now limited his mobility, but for the lost moments, those precious experiences that once seemed endless and unimportant, but now felt just out of reach. He no longer had the energy to hike the trails he loved or to travel with friends. The world had grown smaller, and with it, his sense of freedom. That realization, a crushing blow, was not lost on him. Taking care of your health is not just about avoiding illness. It's about reclaiming your freedom, your vitality, your very life. It's about giving yourself the power to live, to embrace the joy and possibilities that come with a healthy body and mind. You don't have to become a fitness fanatic to make a difference. Start small, but start today. Take a walk each day, even if it's just around the block. Begin with gentle stretches or try yoga to build strength and flexibility. Make those medical appointments, prioritize your health checkups, and take preventative measures seriously. Because every step you take today builds a foundation for the future you want to live. Remember, your body is not just a vessel. It's your home, and it deserves your love and attention. Cherish it, nurture it, and keep it strong, because without health, nothing else matters. Number 2. Letting go of friendships. As the years pass and time continues to move at an unrelenting pace, it becomes all too easy to let friendships quietly slip away into the background. Life shifts. People move to new places, their schedules grow busier, and the demands of family and career can overshadow the relationships we once held dear. But there's a profound truth I've heard echoed time and again, especially in forums where older individuals share their reflections. Isolation and loneliness can become soul-crushing burdens in the later stages of life. Friendships are more than just casual connections. They are the threads that weave us into the fabric of life, offering us a sense of belonging and reminding us that we're not alone in this vast world. Without them, we risk feeling like mere spectators, watching as the world moves forward while we stand still in the shadows of our solitude. One woman shared her story with heartbreaking clarity. She once poured all her energy into her family, focusing on daily tasks and responsibilities, only to realize that, over time, her emotional world had withered. What once was a lively network of friends had slowly faded away, replaced by a sense of emotional emptiness she couldn't shake. She tried to reconnect, reaching out to old friends, but the distance between them had grown so vast that rebuilding those connections felt impossible. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Now, as she looks back, her advice to others is both poignant and vital. Don't wait until retirement to tend to your friendships. Don't wait for the quiet of old age to force you to realize what you've lost. The truth is, friendships don't just happen. They need to be nurtured, cared for, and actively maintained. It's not enough to assume that they'll always be there, waiting for you when you need them most. You must put in the effort. Call, text, or meet up with friends regularly. Step outside of your comfort zone. Join clubs, volunteer, or engage in hobbies where you can meet new people who share your passions and values. Loneliness in old age is not just an emotional strain. It can be physically debilitating, leaving you feeling as though you've been cast aside and disconnected from everything and everyone. But strong, nurturing friendships are the antidote to that isolation. They are the lifeline that can keep you anchored in the most trying of times, offering not just companionship, but love, support, and a reminder that you are still a vibrant part of this world. So don't wait. Take the steps now, while you have the time, to build those relationships that will carry you through your golden years. Number 3. Being too proud to ask for help. As we grow older, there's an undeniable pull to hold tightly to our independence. It feels like a fundamental part of who we are, a testament to the strength and self-sufficiency we've cultivated over a lifetime. We've spent decades navigating the world on our terms, and the thought of needing assistance can feel like an affront to our dignity. But the truth is, the pride that often accompanies aging can slowly erode the very connections that sustain us. I remember reading a deeply moving story from an elderly man on a forum, one that cut straight to the heart. He shared his silent battle with pride, an inner struggle that kept him from seeking help after a fall left him physically vulnerable. His inability to accept the reality of his limitations pushed those closest to him away, including his children. He withdrew, suffocating under the weight of his pride, convinced that asking for help would somehow rob him of his self-worth. But with time, and after much heartache, he came to a profound realization. Asking for help wasn't a sign of weakness, but rather a powerful act of wisdom. It wasn't about admitting defeat. It was about embracing the strength that comes with vulnerability. Once he opened up and accepted the help of those who loved him, his world shifted. His relationships healed, deepened, and became more meaningful. He no longer felt like a burden, but instead felt cherished, supported, and seen. There's a quiet power in letting go of the need to do everything on our own. Whether it's admitting we need assistance with our physical health, sharing our emotional burdens, or asking for help with even the simplest daily tasks, we have to recognize that allowing others to step in doesn't diminish us, it elevates us. It allows us to reconnect with the people who care about us, and it enhances our quality of life in ways we may never have imagined. Don't let pride isolate you. Remember, the people around you are eager to be there for you, to stand with you in your vulnerability. There's incredible strength in that. Strength that creates deeper bonds and a richer, more fulfilled life. Number 4. Holding on to grudges and regrets. Grudges are like chains, heavy and suffocating, and carrying them with you into the twilight of your years can weigh you down in ways you might not fully understand until it's too late. The burden of resentment, of unspoken words and unresolved conflicts, lingers in your soul, slowly eroding your peace of mind. I've come to realize over time that as we age, we often reflect on the past, not only with pride but with a deep, painful sense of regret. And let me tell you, regret is one of the most agonizing emotions to carry. It's the shadow that follows you, no matter how hard you try to outrun it. It's the bitter taste of opportunities lost, of chances never taken, of love unspoken. It can steal your joy in ways you never imagined. I once saw a profoundly emotional video, where a woman in her 80s shared the heartbreaking story of how she had held onto a grudge against her sister for nearly 3 decades. The cause of their rift? A trivial family dispute, something that, in the grand scheme of life, could have been forgiven easily. But neither of them was willing to let go of their pride, and time, as it often does, slipped away unnoticed. Her sister passed on, and she was left with an unhealed wound, an unsaid apology, a lost chance for reconciliation. She spoke of the unbearable regret that haunted her for years after. Her words cut deep, as she admitted that this lingering grudge had clouded her life and that the sorrow of losing her sister without mending their bond was a pain she couldn't escape. This woman's story was a painful but powerful reminder that time is precious, more fleeting than we often realize. Holding on to grudges, no matter how justified they may seem in the moment, is never worth the profound, lingering pain they cause. The emotional toll they take is more costly than we can ever comprehend. Let go of past hurts, not because the person who wronged you always deserves your forgiveness, but because you deserve the peace that comes with letting go. When you carry resentment, it's like drinking poison and hoping someone else will suffer. Forgiveness is an act of liberation, not just for the one you forgive but for yourself. And regret, it's a cruel master, but you can break free from it. Learn from your past mistakes, and embrace the lessons they offer, but do not let them dictate the path ahead. Life is far too short to dwell on the what could have been. Don't spend your days haunted by things that are already gone. Focus instead on what still can be, on the infinite possibilities ahead of you. Each day is a new chance to build something meaningful, to heal, and to find joy in the present. Number 5. Living in fear of change. Change is an unstoppable force, an inevitable tide that surges through our lives whether we welcome it or not. But tragically, many allow fear to take root, especially as they grow older, and resist embracing the new. The world around us is constantly transforming. Technology reshapes the way we communicate, society constantly evolves, and even our very bodies change in ways we cannot control. And yet, so many of us, as we age, retreat into the comfort of the known, desperately holding on to old ways and resisting the winds of change. One of the greatest mistakes we can make in life is to allow ourselves to become stagnant, clinging to outdated habits and refusing to open ourselves to fresh experiences. I recall reading about an elderly man who stubbornly rejected the idea of learning how to use a smartphone. He had lived much of his life relying on landlines, sending letters through the mail, and finding solace in the slow, familiar pace of the past. But as the years passed, his resistance began to isolate him. He was no longer able to easily connect with his children and grandchildren, who had moved into the digital age and found it increasingly difficult to communicate with him. It was only when he faced the painful truth that he was disconnecting from his loved ones that he finally allowed himself to change. The moment he embraced technology was like a breath of fresh air. He felt his heart reconnecting with his family, his spirit expanding, and his mind reigniting as he ventured into the world of online learning. This story is a powerful reminder that when we resist change, we not only limit our personal growth, but also risk cutting ourselves off from the connections and opportunities that can make life richer and more fulfilling. It's never too late to change, to try something new, to expand the horizons of what we thought was possible. Whether it's learning how to navigate the latest technology, pursuing a long-forgotten hobby, or simply shifting our daily routines, every new experience is an invitation to grow, to live more fully, and to remain vital. By embracing change, we keep our minds sharp, our hearts open, and our lives filled with the endless potential for growth. The journey of life is about evolution, about shedding the old skin of comfort and fear and stepping forward into the unknown with courage and curiosity. No matter our age, the story of our lives is still being written, and the best chapters are always yet to come. Number 6. Not planning for the future. Retirement often seems like a distant, almost surreal concept when you're in the prime of your youth. You're focused on your career, your relationships, your daily responsibilities, and the present moment. The idea of life after work seems so far away, something you don't need to concern yourself with just yet. But let me tell you, time doesn't wait for anyone, and before you know it, the years will have flown by. Retirement will be upon you before you even realize it, and if you haven't taken the necessary steps to prepare, it could be a time of struggle, uncertainty, and regret. Many people underestimate how quickly time passes, and it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking you'll have plenty of time to prepare later. Unfortunately, that mindset can lead to a deeply unsettling reality when your golden years arrive, and you're left scrambling to pick up the pieces. This is especially true when it comes to planning for your retirement, financially, emotionally, and practically. Failing to plan adequately can bring an unexpected burden into your life, one that you might not have anticipated or considered when you were younger. I read a powerful and eye-opening account of a retired couple who were brave enough to share their personal experience online. They had worked hard throughout their lives, believed their retirement savings would be sufficient, and looked forward to the peaceful, carefree years they had imagined. But they didn't account for the rising cost of healthcare or the unpredictable expenses that inevitably come with age. They were blindsided by the reality that medical bills can escalate quickly and that life doesn't stop throwing curveballs just because you've stopped working. In the blink of an eye, they found themselves having to make decisions they never thought they would. Downsizing their home, altering their lifestyle in ways that left them feeling vulnerable and disheartened, and facing a future that felt much less secure than they had anticipated. The most striking part of their story was how open and vulnerable they were about their regrets. They admitted, with painful honesty, that they wished they had been more diligent and more forward-thinking when they were younger. They wished they had saved more, planned better, and taken the time to truly understand what their future might look like beyond the career phase of their lives. The emotional toll of their missteps was evident in their words as they expressed how much they longed for the chance to go back and do things differently. But, as is often the case, life doesn't give us do-overs, and now they are left to cope with the consequences of their lack of foresight. Their story is not unique, and it's a cautionary tale that should resonate deeply with anyone who has yet to truly think about their future. It serves as a stark reminder that the future is not something that can be ignored, postponed, or left to chance. You cannot afford to wait until the last minute to start planning. It's not just about saving money, although that's a crucial part of it. It's also about emotionally preparing for the transition that retirement brings. It's about considering how you want to live, how you'll stay connected with others, and how you'll maintain a sense of purpose when the routine of daily work life is no longer there to define you. The time to start planning for your future is now. It doesn't matter if you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or beyond. There's no better moment than today to begin shaping the life you want to have in your later years. Start saving more, even if it feels difficult at first. Make smarter budgeting choices, and think about the kind of lifestyle you want to enjoy once you step away from the workforce. But don't stop there. Think beyond the financial aspect. How do you want to spend your time when you retire? What are your passions, your dreams, your desires? How will you stay active, engaged, and emotionally fulfilled when the distractions of work are no longer present? By planning early, you give yourself the gift of freedom in your later years. The freedom to enjoy life without the constant stress of worrying about finances or what comes next. Planning is not just about securing a comfortable lifestyle, it's about crafting a future that is rich in experiences, joy, and peace of mind. It's about having the ability to spend time doing what truly matters to you, whether that's traveling, pursuing hobbies, spending time with loved ones, or simply savoring the beauty of life without the weight of financial insecurity hanging over you. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. The more you invest in planning today, the more you'll be able to look forward to tomorrow. You'll be able to embrace your later years with a sense of confidence and fulfillment, knowing that you've built a solid foundation for yourself. Don't let the years slip by unnoticed, because once they're gone, you can't go back and change them. Be proactive, take charge of your future, and set yourself up for a retirement that is full of opportunities rather than limitations. Your future self will thank you for the thoughtful, careful decisions you make today. Don't let retirement be something that sneaks up on you unexpectedly, leaving you feeling unprepared. Plan now, and live well later. Number 7. Losing your sense of purpose. As we age, one of the most heartbreaking and soul-crushing mistakes people often make is believing that their life has lost its purpose. The weight of retirement, the vast emptiness that follows an empty nest, or the devastating loss of a spouse or loved one can leave you feeling as if you've been cast adrift, no longer anchored by the daily routines that once defined you. When the familiar roles you've held for decades slip away, it can feel as if your very identity is fading into nothingness. You might find yourself staring into the mirror, wondering if you still matter and if your life still holds any meaning. But let me share with you a profound truth. Purpose is not something you lose as you age. It is something that can be reinvented, rediscovered, and embraced more deeply than ever before. I once came across a deeply moving story in an online forum dedicated to those who are striving to age gracefully and find joy in their later years. An elderly woman, in her quiet wisdom, shared her struggle with the overwhelming sense of loss and depression she felt after retiring. For most of her life, she had been defined by her career. Her work was her calling, her pride, and her source of identity. When that chapter of her life closed, she was left with an agonizing void. She felt as though she no longer had a purpose, no reason to get out of bed in the morning. Her world seemed to crumble. Days blurred into one another, and her heart grew heavy with sadness and confusion. She mourned not just the job she had left behind, but the part of herself that she felt had been so closely tied to it. But, as with all meaningful transformations, it was in her darkest hour that she began to rediscover the light. It didn't happen overnight, but through patience, perseverance, and a willingness to look beyond the conventional, she found herself reborn. She took the bold step to begin volunteering, pouring her time and energy into causes that ignited her soul. She became a mentor to younger generations, offering her wisdom, guidance, and life experiences to those who desperately needed it. She took up hobbies that had long been neglected, rediscovering the joy of painting, gardening, and even learning new skills she had always put off. She learned that the heart doesn't simply stop after retirement. It only begins to expand further, to give more, to love more. Her life began to take on a whole new level of richness and fulfillment. Her story is a testament to a powerful truth that we must all learn to embrace as we grow older. You will never lose your purpose, because your purpose is not defined by a job, a role, or a title. Your purpose is found in the very essence of who you are, your capacity to love, to give, to learn, and to grow. This brave woman's message was simple, yet it resonated deeply with everyone who read her words. You always have something to offer. No matter how many years you've lived, no matter how your circumstances have shifted, there will always be something in you, something unique, something valuable, that the world needs. It could be as small as offering a kind word to a stranger, teaching someone a skill you've mastered over a lifetime, or simply sharing your love and wisdom with your family. It could be mentoring a young person who feels lost, volunteering for a cause that stirs your heart, or picking up a long-forgotten hobby that reminds you of the passions you once had. Whatever it is, as long as you have something to wake up for, as long as you have a reason to rise each morning, your days will be filled with profound purpose and meaning. The truth is, purpose is not a destination you arrive at. It's a journey, one that can evolve as you do. It is not something you lose with age, but something that transforms with each passing year. The beauty of life, especially in its later stages, lies in the ability to redefine what it means to have purpose. It's about finding new reasons to love the life you have, and understanding that you are never too old to begin a new chapter, to learn, to teach, or to connect with the world in ways you may have never imagined. It is about reaching deep into your heart and finding that the capacity for joy, love, and purpose only expands the more you give of yourself. So, the next time you find yourself asking, "What's the point?" or wondering if your life still holds any significance, remember this. You are a living testament to the power of reinvention. As long as you have breath in your lungs, you have the chance to make a difference, to give something to the world, and to experience the kind of joy that only comes from living with purpose. It doesn't matter if you're 50, 70, or 90. What matters is that you continue to seek out what makes you feel alive, what sparks your heart, and what connects you to others. As long as you have something to wake up for, something to look forward to, and someone to share it with, your life will never be without meaning. And that, in itself, is the truest and most beautiful purpose of all. Number 8. Not prioritizing mental health. There's a pervasive and deeply rooted misconception in society that mental health struggles are only something young or middle-aged people have to deal with. But as we grow older, the need to care for our minds becomes not only just as important as taking care of our physical bodies, it can often become even more vital. Unfortunately, mental health is frequently sidelined, especially in older adults, leading to devastating consequences such as depression, anxiety, cognitive decline, and isolation. Many seniors underestimate the toll that untreated mental health conditions can take, assuming that feelings of sadness, apathy, or confusion are just a natural part of aging. The truth is that mental health issues in later life deserve the same care, attention, and treatment as physical ailments. I recall a particularly poignant conversation I stumbled upon on Reddit, where an elderly woman shared her painful experience of grief after the death of her beloved husband. In the months that followed his passing, she described feeling emotionally numb, as if a heavy fog had descended over her, dulling every moment and every connection. It was as if the very essence of joy had been drained from her world, leaving her adrift in a sea of sorrow. She assumed that these emotions, this overwhelming sense of emptiness, were simply part of the aging process. After all, people often talk about growing old gracefully, but no one mentions that sometimes aging can feel like a quiet struggle, a slow unraveling of the things that once made life meaningful. Sadly, she continued to suffer in silence, convincing herself that this numbness and sadness were just inevitable and that she had no choice but to endure it. It wasn't until her daughter, noticing the deepening isolation and sadness in her mother, insisted that she see a therapist that this woman realized that her feelings were not something she just had to accept. Through therapy, she began to unpack the layers of grief and loss that had piled up over the months and years, realizing for the first time that she wasn't alone in her pain. She didn't have to silently endure her mental anguish. Help was available. The emotional awakening this woman experienced was profound. Her message to others was unequivocal. Taking care of your mental health in older age is not a luxury, nor is it a sign of weakness. It is an essential part of maintaining overall well-being. Mental health is just as important as physical health, and the two are deeply intertwined. If you find yourself feeling increasingly overwhelmed, anxious, or isolated, it's not something to push aside or pretend doesn't exist. Those emotions are valid, and they deserve to be addressed. Seeking help is a courageous step, not a sign of fragility. Reaching out for support doesn't mean you are weak. It means you are strong enough to face the discomfort and find a way through it. It may take the form of talking to a therapist, or a counselor, or even joining a support group where others share similar struggles. It could be as simple as opening up to a trusted friend who listens without judgment. Often, just knowing that you are heard and that someone else understands your pain can provide the relief you so desperately need. Maintaining a healthy mind also requires active effort. As we age, it's easy to fall into routines that keep us passive and disconnected from the world around us. However, it's essential to remain mentally engaged by learning new things, whether that's picking up a new hobby, exploring a subject you've always wanted to learn about, or simply reading more books. Challenging your mind with puzzles or engaging in stimulating conversations can also keep you sharp and engaged with life. It's not about filling time. It's about enriching your experience and giving your mind the nourishment it needs to thrive. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Our minds, just like our bodies, need care and attention. A sharp, active mind can not only help us navigate the challenges of aging with grace, but it can also bring us joy and fulfillment. It keeps us connected to the world, to the people we love, and to the passions that make life worth living. And if you ever feel like you've reached a point where things seem too much to handle on your own, remember that there is always someone out there who wants to listen and help you carry the weight. You are never alone in this journey, and it's never too late to prioritize your mental health. A healthy mind is the foundation for a healthy life, and it's something you can and should continue to nurture, no matter your age. Number 9. Not downsizing or simplifying when necessary. As we journey through life, we accumulate more than just memories. We collect possessions, obligations, and sometimes burdens that can weigh us down. For many, the realization that holding on to too much material stuff can drain our energy and happiness doesn't come until later in life. The idea of simplifying, of letting go of what no longer serves us, can feel daunting or even impossible at first. Yet, it's one of the most liberating decisions you can make in your later years. The vast array of belongings we gather over the years often begins to feel less like an asset and more like a chain. We hold on to things, thinking they might be useful one day or that they carry sentimental value, but in reality, they slowly build up into an overwhelming and exhausting burden. The piles of old books, the clothes that no longer fit, the unused furniture gathering dust, all of these things take a toll on our mental and physical energy. They consume our time, our thoughts, and often our sense of well-being. As we age, maintaining a large home can feel like an insurmountable challenge. Too often, older adults continue to live in spaces that no longer suit their needs. Homes that are too big, too demanding, and filled with too many things. Many regret not downsizing earlier, and their stories are often filled with a deep sense of relief after they've made the change. The simple act of decluttering or moving to a smaller, more manageable home can be transformative. It's not just about getting rid of physical things. It's about reclaiming your life, your space, and your freedom. I think back to an elderly couple I once spoke with, whose story truly highlights the profound impact of simplifying one's life. They had lived in a large house for decades, long after their children had grown and moved away. Initially, they believed that the extra rooms were essential for family visits or holiday gatherings. But as the years went by, those moments became increasingly rare. What had once been a home filled with the sounds of laughter and joy had turned into a cavernous space that only served to remind them of what had been. The house, once a symbol of their accomplishments and family life, had become a burden, both emotionally and physically. The yard required constant upkeep, the rooms needed cleaning, and the repairs seemed endless. What was once a symbol of pride had morphed into a source of stress and exhaustion. Despite this, the couple continued to hold on to their home, convinced they needed it, convincing themselves that it still had a purpose. But eventually, the realization set in that the house no longer fit their needs. It was no longer a place of comfort or joy. It was a place that drained their energy, their resources, and their peace of mind. The couple finally made the difficult decision to downsize. The moment they let go of that large house was nothing short of transformative. The relief they felt was palpable, as though they had been carrying an enormous weight for years and had just set it down. In the process of downsizing, they discovered something they hadn't expected: freedom. By reducing their possessions and moving to a smaller, more manageable home, they liberated themselves from the constant cycle of maintenance and stress. They now had time and energy to focus on what truly mattered: spending time together, traveling to places they had only dreamed about, and rediscovering the hobbies they had long neglected. The simplicity of their new space allowed them to reconnect with themselves, each other, and the world around them in ways they hadn't imagined. This is the power of simplifying your life: letting go of what no longer serves you in order to make room for what truly nourishes you. Downsizing isn't just about moving to a smaller house. It's about making a conscious choice to live with intention, and to prioritize the things that bring joy, fulfillment, and connection. The act of decluttering your home can be seen as a metaphor for decluttering your life, making room for new experiences, new relationships, and new passions. And it's not just about you. Simplifying your life can ease the burden on your loved ones as well. As we grow older, the reality is that our family and friends may one day have to step in and help manage our affairs. By simplifying your living situation, you make it easier for them to support you, without the added strain of dealing with mountains of possessions. The thought of your loved ones one day having to sift through your belongings is enough to inspire many to make the change now before it becomes a heavy task for someone else. The decision to downsize or declutter is an act of love, for yourself and for those you care about. It's about embracing the freedom that comes with less and giving yourself the space to breathe, grow, and live fully. Less stuff means more room for joy, laughter, connection, and experiences that truly matter. It's a chance to let go of the past and make room for a future filled with possibility. So, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the clutter of your life, whether it's the physical possessions around you or the mental and emotional weight of holding on to things that no longer serve you, consider this your invitation to simplify. Take that first step. Let go. Release the burden. And step into a life of greater peace, freedom, and joy. Your future self will thank you, and so will those you love. Number 10. Avoiding conversations about end-of-life planning. End-of-life planning is undoubtedly one of the most difficult conversations to have. It's a subject that many people deliberately avoid, as it brings to the surface uncomfortable thoughts about mortality and the unknown. It's understandable to shy away from such discussions, especially when they evoke feelings of fear, sadness, and uncertainty. However, avoiding these essential conversations can be one of the most profound mistakes you can make. Not just for yourself but for your loved ones. In truth, addressing the difficult reality of death head-on, even when it seems overwhelming, can be one of the greatest acts of love and care you can offer. It's a gift that transcends physical possessions. It's about ensuring peace, clarity, and security in the most difficult of times. The act of preparing for the inevitable is not about anticipating death. Rather, it's about preparing for life, ensuring that when the time comes, your family won't be left scrambling in confusion, burdened by the emotional weight of decisions that should have been discussed long before. Having an end-of-life plan in place provides not only peace of mind, but also an invaluable sense of relief to those you leave behind. It involves creating a will that reflects your wishes, making clear decisions regarding your health care when you can no longer speak for yourself, and even addressing the often overlooked details of funeral arrangements. These choices are far more than logistical. They reflect the deep emotional bonds and responsibilities we carry for those we love. I remember reading a deeply moving story from a woman who lost her father unexpectedly. It was a tragic event, one that threw her family into a state of shock and grief. But what made the experience even more harrowing was the fact that her father had never made his wishes clear about his care or his funeral. No conversations had been had, no plans were in place. His passing left a gaping hole of uncertainty that compounded the sorrow already present. The siblings, each with their understanding of what he might have wanted, found themselves at odds with each other over even the smallest details. Decisions that should have been straightforward became battlegrounds. The burden of these unresolved matters weighed heavily on their hearts, creating rifts that took years to heal. The woman, in her heartache and frustration, shared how much easier it would have been if her father had simply dared to discuss his preferences with them before his passing. The weight of that absence, of that unspoken silence, lingered far longer than any funeral could. That painful experience was a turning point for her. It taught her a critical lesson, one that she now carries with her every day. It was the lesson that speaking about end-of-life matters, though uncomfortable and potentially painful, is an act of deep love and responsibility. She realized that by avoiding this conversation, her father had unknowingly caused his family to suffer even more. But she was determined to ensure that her children wouldn't face the same confusion, the same emotional turmoil when the time came for her. And so, she began to talk openly with her children about her wishes, the kind of burial she preferred, her healthcare decisions should she become incapacitated, and how she envisioned the final days of her life. It wasn't easy, but it gave her children peace, knowing that they would not have to guess or struggle with what she might have wanted. It gave them the ability to honor her wishes without the added strain of uncertainty. End-of-life planning is never a conversation we want to have. It's natural to want to ignore it, to push it to the back of our minds, and assume that one day is far off. But the reality is, we never know when that day might come. By facing it now, we can spare our loved ones the burden of guesswork and emotional distress. It's about removing the heavy weight of unanswered questions from their shoulders, allowing them to focus on remembering you, grieving you, and celebrating your life rather than being consumed by the chaos of uncertainty. Yes, These conversations can feel awkward, even overwhelming at first. They force us to confront our vulnerabilities and fears. But let's be clear, these are not conversations that should be avoided. They are conversations that must be had. It's an uncomfortable truth, but the reality is that not having a plan in place can lead to years of emotional strife and fractured relationships. Imagine the relief your loved ones will experience when they know exactly what you want, when they have the legal documents that outline your will, your power of attorney, and your healthcare directives. They won't have to question your wishes or fight amongst themselves during a time when they should be supporting each other through grief. By talking openly about end-of-life matters, you give your family the gift of closure long before your last breath. You allow them to honor your life the way you wish to be remembered. You free them from the anguish of wondering whether they made the right choices. They will be able to look back with gratitude, knowing they respected your wishes and gave you the peace you deserved. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. In some ways, this is the ultimate expression of love, giving your family the clarity and strength they need to handle the final stages of your life with grace and compassion. These conversations are a reflection of the kind of legacy you want to leave, not just material possessions or financial assets, but a legacy of emotional peace, understanding, and unity. So, please don't wait. Don't wait for the right time or the right moment, because there is no such thing. The time is now. Sit down with your loved ones, your children, your spouse, your closest family members, and have the conversation. Share your wishes with them openly, even if it feels uncomfortable. The pain of a difficult conversation is far less than the pain of leaving your family with unanswered questions when the time comes. These discussions will not only provide peace for you, but they will also give your loved ones the freedom to grieve without the weight of decisions they are not prepared to make. It's one of the most important steps you can take to ensure that, when the end comes, it's not filled with confusion, conflict, or regret. Instead, it will be filled with love, understanding, and the quiet peace of knowing that you left behind a roadmap for those who will carry on. And that is a gift that will last long after you're gone. As we reflect on the importance of addressing end-of-life planning, it's clear that these conversations, though difficult, are an essential part of showing love and care for those we hold dear. By speaking openly about our wishes, we offer our families the gift of clarity, peace, and unity when they need it the most. So, what have you learned so far in this video? How can you use this knowledge to create a more thoughtful, compassionate plan for your future and the future of your loved ones? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share one thing you've learned and how you'll bring it into practice in your own life. Leave your comment below this video, and let's keep this conversation going. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay updated with more valuable content. Your support means the world to us. Thank you for being part of this journey.